Starting. All right, we're live here. There's my cut, and here we go. All right, Weird Science, how we doing this week? This is Brandon. I'm coming at you guys along with Trevitt for the Marvel Minute, Marvel Half Hour, whatever all you guys feel like calling it. We're here to bring you, by winner of vote, Clone Conspiracy Omega #1. And we got quite the creative team on this bad boy here, and the credits are fucked up throughout the book, so everyone is getting lumped together here at the beginning. If you notice, the credits in the beginning saying who does what story, as far as artists go anyway, don't match what happens in the story later when they pop up. So I really don't know who's doing what here as far as the book.
I do believe Mark Bagley did the Peter David story and Stuart Immonen did the last story.
yeah,
Although they both seemed rushed, like really
that's
rushed.
how it's supposed to match up, but the inkers and shit and the colorists are all mixed up throughout the book. So
yeah, because certain pencilers always work with particular inkers and it doesn't match up. You're correct.
Yeah, it's not matching up right. So we're going to lump everybody together, and our writing team on the entire issue is Dan Slott, Christos Gage, and Peter David.
The legendary Peter David. No.
Yeah, he's been less legendary lately at Marvel, trust me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Our team of Corey T. Smith, Justin Ponser, Mark Bagley, John Dell, Jason Keith, Stuart Immonen, Wade Von Grawbadger, who wins Name of the Day, and Richard Isanov. That is a sweet-ass name. Wade Von Grawbadger.
That's, oh my God, that's going to be my alias from now on.
Yeah, Grawbadger is a badass last name. Anyway, this is a Marvel Comics publication, and let's get into our blurb here before we spit the bit with you guys here about Clone Conspiracy Omega #1. We finally, I think, have our ending for real this time to the Dead No More Clone Conspiracy Spider event. Third time is a charm after all. So what has the latest adventures in Clone Saga madness brought into the Spider-Man mythos, and is it worth the price of admission for $4.99? Stay tuned and find out as we spit the bit about Clone Conspiracy Omega #1 and its setup for the future of the Spider books. Yeah, so like I said, this is really kind of the third ending to this goddamn story. Depending how you look at it, because the event ended with issue 5. We then had a Amazing Spider-Man issue 24 tie-in, kind of wrapping things up further. And then this Omega issue comes out to wrap things up even further. So what do you think about that there, buddy?
Oh my God, I'm so goddamn tired of Clone Conspiracy.
I like endings, but this has been fucking beating a dead horse, goddamn it.
Oh God, it's so painful. Like they make it this this experience that you have to go through. Like they want, it's like they want you to be happy it's over or something.
Yeah.
I mean that, and I think they wanted a vehicle to launch Scarlet Spider some way somehow, and they also wanted, like, I don't know, to show off Stuart Immonen before issue 25, even though it's rushed and it doesn't look halfway as good as any other Stuart Immonen art. So
yeah. Yeah, it's really kind of weird. It feels like Dan Slott finished Clone Conspiracy issue 5, and then he's like, I didn't really finish that. Let me take Amazing next. And then he's like, I didn't finish that either. Let me get an Omega issue here before we squeeze 25 in a couple weeks.
And you know what? The quality could have been better. And my brother made a point the other night that I never even thought of, that Dan Slott is, like, think about all writers. They work on 5, 6, 7 books at a time. Dan Slott only works on Spider-Man. This should be, without a doubt, Amazing at issue 5. You know, like, I mean, his whole entire focus.
It should have been a little tighter. I mean, he does Silver Surfer too. That's his other book.
Oh yeah,
that comes out really like 4 times a year. I don't know what
whenever
the
he
going
wants
on with that book.
Yeah, whenever he wants, that book comes out.
Yeah, so that's a weird situation. But well, let's get into things here. We'll discuss the issue, and then we'll rant about things at the end here. So basically, this issue starts off kind of recapping the ending of the event, basically, and it's kind of done this in Amazing 24 and Clone Conspiracy 5, kind of recapping the ending to 4. So we kind of see just the aftermath of all the clones laying around after the signal went off. Some have survived it and are now healed. Some are dead and have basically turned into clone ash on the floor.
Some survived and are dying.
Yeah. We just got shit going down in all different ways, shapes, and forms. And that's kind of really the first issue, because it's hard to figure out what the rules are to all this clone stuff when you have some of the people dead, some of them still alive, some of them totally healed, and some of them still sick how they initially were. So it's a little confusing. We run into Dr. Clarkson, who was the Indian lady doctor who was working with Scarlet Spider / Jackal to perfect this cloning process.
Is that also the woman at the beginning of? I might be thinking of somebody else, but the lady who during the Zodiac storyline, who Parker like always had a problem with, who she kind of like ran a certain division of Parker Industries, or is that somebody?
That's Sanjay.
Oh, okay, all right. I was confused.
Not Sanjay. I might be fucking up that name. One of the people that call into the rant and rave.
Yeah, I think Sanjay's a boy's name. So
yeah, she was an Indian lady as well, but I forget what her name. Fuck, what's her name? We haven't seen her in forever, but it started with an S. I want to say it might be Sanjay. I don't know. I forget. I really do, but I know exactly who you're talking about. That's somebody different, though. I'll have to go back to.
Right, for a second, I thought that was her. So I was
previous issues. No, this is a doctor. That lady is just kind of was Peter's right-hand man. Basically, throughout the Superior, towards the end of the Superior arc, and then when Peter jumped back in his body and Doc Ock left, she kind of knew something was up and was trying to figure it out.
Okay.
And I have to read that volume again. I don't really remember if she got the answer or not, but she got fired. I'm pretty sure. And
yeah, he fired her.
Yeah, we're supposed to see her again down the line. I think she'll be popping back up sooner or later. Dan Slott doesn't usually forget characters that he's brought spotlight to. But yeah, anyway, Dr. Clarkson is somewhat different. And basically, she's informed our heroes that there are people in these cloning chambers that are defrosting. And Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, Kane, and Anna Maria get walked into these chambers and start running into these people that have basically gotten back into their old bodies. So it's hard to explain. If you've been reading this, you'll understand it. If you haven't, this is going to be weird. The clones were basically like avatars. So these people were put in these chambers, a little like Wonder Woman, and the clone bodies they were put into had all their memories and everything, but they weren't these people.
You mean like Adriana and Wonder Woman? Like they were in these little tubes and she was in that robot?
Yeah, like Dr. Cyber, who she ends up, that whole thing confuses me as well. But that was probably a bad way for me to bring it up.
Well, no, actually, it makes a good point. Like it brings out a good point because, like, so these clones like weren't the people that Scarlet Spider Ben was claiming that they are. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, like the Prowler he brought back wasn't really Prowler. It was an avatar of Prowler.
Weird. So weird.
Because the real Prowler has been stored in this basement chamber. And this is the other problem here, because Jerry, who is an employee at Parker Industries that was hurt, Peter gave the okay to Jackal to basically repair. He is still fucked up. So basically he's told when he gets defrosted, he has not been healed. He's still going to die, which pisses his wife and family off. But Prowler, on the other hand, who was basically shocked to death, what we were told and led to believe, is healed and totally fine. So he has no repercussions. And this is the big problem with this whole cloning. I don't fucking know what you want to call it. It's not even really cloning. They were avatars, essentially.
It makes the story not anything that it was supposed to be. Like you have this idea of the story, and it wasn't even like a bomb. Like, oh yeah, that was a great idea. I can't believe I didn't realize that. It was just like he just threw this in for some stupid reason. Like I can't understand.
Well, and then here's the big problem. Ben Reilly. Then okay, so where is the real fucking Ben Reilly's body? Because if they're all avatars. You know what I'm saying? And Ben is a clone. where is the real Ben that this avatar is acting through? You know what
That's
I'm
gonna be a good
saying?
point.
Or
And you
is
know
he
what?
the one? Is he the one original clone that Jackal just kept bringing back and back and back? So he's the one exception to this entire way this cloning process is done.
I think that's how it is. I think that's how it is.
But that makes no
Although
sense, and they've never stated that in the rules of the story. So you're
no, they
left
didn't.
fucking just assuming that. You know what I'm
Assuming
saying?
that, yeah. And you know, the only way that they could possibly like make that right is if in the Scarlet Spider series that becomes a part of the story. But
Yeah, they
for
mentioned
this
it.
story, it's like, oh God, like why? Or what? Because they wanted to stretch it out into an Omega issue, and this is probably the only thing that they could come up with to warrant a story, like an extra
Yeah,
story,
see,
you know?
here's the problem with all these extra issues is that he's almost explained too much. Like
Yeah,
if they never have gone down into this cloning chamber that added this whole fucking hidden dimension to the story, nobody would have any of these questions. You know what I'm saying? If
yeah. No,
Prowler
that's true.
as the clone, he died in the clone of Prowler died in the last issue of Prowler, Prowler 5. So
Yeah,
basically,
very
if you
important.
never killed that clone, you could have just said, listen, take the webware just made you fine, and the story would have made more sense that way. You know what I'm
Way more
saying?
sense.
Anyway, Peter finds out he's going to be summoned to the People's Court by this Jerry's family, and that's basically how that scene ends with Peter feeling guilty, like he made this decision to put out the signal through webware and heal everybody. The people that weren't healed and died still have to deal with this. I'm not even going to explain it because it makes no sense.
Yeah, it
It's
makes
weird. We'll move on and stop obsessing about that one part. But it just doesn't. What if Jerry's clone never vanished? You know what I'm saying? His family would think he's fine, or there would be two Jerrys running around. I don't fuck. It
I
makes sense.
no sense, no sense. And like and what is the purpose of keeping these in these chambers? Like, are they keeping them in these chambers for their memories? Like, are they broadcasting the memories to the clones, or are they
Yeah, I
just
think
holding
that.
them
Yeah,
hostage? Like,
you're right. They've never said that. They obviously the chamber helps them clone the copy body,
yeah,
and probably help carry the memories over. But I don't know. Why couldn't you just suck
because
DNA out through a needle and spit it
in
out in a test tube? That's how I thought this whole thing was done. You know what I'm saying?
right, because in past issues and like tie-ins from Amazing and Clone Conspiracy issues, like Ben supposedly made these people from scratch. Like he either took like particulates of their remains and cloned
Yeah.
from that, or he cloned it from like, just the dead body of a person, like a full-on dead body. But like, I mean, now we're finding out that that's not necessarily how he did it. So it's like he's just changing the rules of the story, and he's
Yeah.
not giving us enough information for it to
Yeah.
completely make
Yeah.
sense.
The ending where he thinks he's explaining it is really kind of fucking it up more.
Yes, yes, badly.
Anyway, let's continue and move away from the rules of this entire cloning story because it's just you could talk about it all day.
Yeah, you really could.
Going back to the 90s.
And we get to
Anyway,
the good stuff, right?
yeah,
Like
kind of.
Rhino, and I mean
Yeah.
I love that
Well,
moment.
first, Kane ends up basically challenging Spider-Man's idea that Doc Ock and Scarlet Spider have died.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, so how do you know they've died? And Peter's like, their clothes are there. There's ash of their body there. They're dead. And Ben's like, listen, or Ben, Kane's like, listen, we've been down this goddamn road before. I don't believe it. I don't believe what you're telling me. I don't care what proof you found until I see their actual dead body. I don't believe it. Essentially, is what he
Yeah,
says to Peter as he kind of goes his separate way from Peter, basically pissed off. So him and Peter kind of end the story on bad terms.
yeah,
That's when
they do.
that's when a Shield containment team arrives on the scene to corral any clones left on the scene.
And Peter was
He's
mad at him because he knew what was going to happen. He's like, you knew what was going to happen.
yeah,
He's like, hey, there's no zombies, so I don't really give a shit about the outcome. He's like, that's all I cared about.
yeah.
Kane's a badass.
Yeah, Kane's cool. He's never been my favorite, really. I've always preferred Ben as the Peter clone over Kane, but
Yeah.
I don't know. they've kind of reversed roles at this point, is Kane as the good clone and Ben kind of as the bad clone, whereas Kane used to be the bad clone and Ben used to be the good clone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, Lizard sneaks off. You peek in, you get a scene of Lizard. He sneaks off with his cloned family, who has been healed by the webware, and they get into the sewers because Lizard kind of mentions he's got a secret cure that he's been working on.
Yeah, cure.
Lizard, if you can imagine, this was set up actually pretty well throughout the story, to be honest with you.
That was one. This is along with Rhino. This is one of my favorite parts because, I mean, the Lizard is out of his mind, and like what he does, and you're right. It's gone through the whole series. It was just like a great little.
Well, everyone was kind of, all the bad guys like Ock and Scarlet Spider were kind of shitting on the thing he was doing in the labs. They were kind of letting him do his thing and not paying attention to him whenever
what he was doing. Yeah,
whenever he brought up, I kind of have an idea here, guys. They're like, shut the fuck up, dude. We hate you. Like, you're just here because we like drawing lizards in the story. That's why you're here.
Yeah, that's why you're here. because you're a longtime classic Spider-Man villain, and we need you around. And you have good family that we could bring into the story. So.
Yeah, they kind of set him up as a joke, but it ends up coming around in the end where Lizard reveals he can save his own family, and they head off to the sewer. So that was a cool part. And then we get back with Spider-Gwen here. Her and Spider-Man also have kind of a snippy moment with each other. Well, she basically plays it cool, but Spider-Man's a little pissed at her because
he's kind of a dick, Peter.
Well, she was with Kane and not telling Spider-Man what was going on. Those two knew, and that's why Spider-Man's a little pissed off at them. So
this is where they get into that argument about Riley, about like, you saw clothes and a mask, that's it. He's like, you didn't bother checking any further, like.
Yeah, the argument goes a little further here, and then Kane and Spider-Gwen basically have a moment where Kane tells her what his plans are. He hands over her dimensional hopper back to her, and kind of says they're going to go their separate ways. He's going to figure out what's going on with Ben, and Gwen's going to return home to Earth 65.
And they have like a little thing about why Peter is kind of mean. Like he looks at her like a fake Gwen, like you know, especially after the real Gwen Stacy being brought back and
kind of
put to sand again. Even though it was a heroic end for her.
Yeah, Spider-Man's really never kind of had a great connection with Spider-Gwen, even in Spider-Verse, because he was kind of banging Silk at that point in time.
He was? I didn't read Spider-Verse, so.
Yeah, so he never really... He was kind of taken at the point Spider-Gwen was introduced to him and didn't really kind of have like the Gwen attraction to her that Spider-Man would have.
Yeah. I want to read Spider-Verse, but it's the size of an encyclopedia, so.
Yeah, it's huge. I've read it all, man. It went on for a long time. Anyway, so that's kind of how that scene ends, with Kane and Spider-Gwen kind of getting their own directions and heading off. I'm sure Kane's going to be appearing in the Scarlet Spider book, and obviously Spider-Gwen has her own book, so if you're interested in her, you can follow that story there. That's where that'll continue. And then we get back to another part that I like with the villains, and that's Rhino. He kind of starts snapping on all these S.H.I.E.L.D. people trying to contain him, which leads obviously to Spider-Man jumping into the mix.
Because he won't leave his wife's remains.
Yeah, he even though she's Ash, he doesn't want anybody touching it, and he doesn't want anybody touching him. He's having a moment. So Spider-Man and him kind of have a little bit of a fight between each other, while Spider-Man is basically talking to him, trying to calm him down, letting him know how they've kind of both gone through the same thing. And Spider-Man wants to kind of help him through it, essentially,
he wants
the
to get
agreement
him
that they reached. Yeah.
He wants to get him tested, make sure he's okay. Like, he's trying to be a real nice guy here, Like, this was a great moment in the book.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. It kind of is a Rhino Clayface moment, if you will. Try to compare it to, like, a DC counterpart.
Yeah, it really is.
Rhino calms down enough to let S.H.I.E.L.D. take him in and run a few tests, make sure he's good to go. And Spider-Man kind of mentions how he's going to check on him, and Rhino acknowledges to Spider-Man that that's okay. They kind of
He talks him off
agree.
the ledge and
Yeah,
tells him,
they
like, your wife wouldn't want you to be like this. You want to do the best. He's like, you want to honor her memory,
yeah
So
they
stop
they,
being an ass.
they agree to stop fighting and kind of be buddies for a little bit, I guess, is what you can say this is going to lead to, maybe. Um, and then this story ends again with another update on the lizard, and
I love when he promises to visit him in prison, where he's
yeah,
like, I'll come see you and make sure you're all right. And he's like,
yeah,
good. And I can see how you're doing too. And he's like, bye, Spider-Man. Like, it was just like a nice little heartwarming moment.
yeah. Well, it kind of made me smile. In my
Me too. I loved it.
Rich's heart grew 3 sizes. That was what happened to me that day. I like that moment. So just again, the book ends with a lizard. No, well, not the book, but this story of the book ends with the lizard update, and
Great.
it is revealed that his cure in the sewers essentially turned his clone family into a lizard version of his family. So he has a lizard family now hanging out in the sewers with him.
I think they're mindless too. Like, I
Yeah,
think it
they
did
they
something
look
because she's like,
feral. They look
yeah,
feral as
and
fuck.
she's pouring a glass of water and she's missing the glass and she can't even utter a word. And his son's
Yeah, and the
eating the
kid's
plate
chewing on the goddamn plate in
in
the
the
bottom
sandwich.
corner.
Like, you could tell there was a sandwich on the plate and he's trying to eat the plate as the sandwich falls off. Like,
Yeah, like Lizard has his wits about him. He's an evil mindset, but has his wits about him. These people don't
yeah.
even have the ability to talk. It looks like his family. He just is happy to have them back. He doesn't care.
I'm happy for the lizard too.
Yeah,
Such a lonely
that's going to
existence.
be a future story. Obviously, Slott loves to focus on the old school Spider-Man villains. He's really like, obviously Doc Ock has been a big center part of the Spider-Man mythos the last couple of years, and we're going back to Goblin here now. So
yep, I can't wait for that.
yeah, he loves the
Goblin
classic
Army.
Spidey villains. Anyway, that story ends. That's basically wrapping up Clone Conspiracy, and then we get a Scarlet Spider tease story basically here next, and that is Ben tracks down Dr. Clarkson, the doctor from the beginning of Clone Conspiracy we just talked about.
Yep, he's wearing his Deadpool t-shirt.
Yeah, he does. He looks like Deadpool. I honestly thought it was Deadpool because of the way he's scarred up from the cloning process degeneration.
Yeah, he does look like Deadpool.
Swear to God, I just thought it was Deadpool until he said he was Ben. So he tracks Clarkson down in this bar. She's kind of just blowing off steam after everything that's happened and basically being in trouble with S.H.I.E.L.D. now. A discussion occurs about whether Ben's intentions were really pure between them, because he's basically gotten her in a bunch of shit. She'll probably lose her doctor's license,
Yeah, almost ruined her life.
He swears his intentions were pure and good, and she basically says, "No, dude, you're playing God. That's not cool."
And he was.
Yeah, I shouldn't have helped you out.
He's got a little evil in him.
Yeah. It's his motivations again. Like he's come here basically. He reveals to ask her for cash, so he fucked her over and then is asking her for money. Which she doesn't take very well.
And then he fucks her over again.
Not really, because first these people come over to the table because they've recognized this doctor. She brought their sister back to life and his wife respectively, so it's a brother and a husband there, and they basically are there to beat this doctor's ass and kill her, it looks like,
because she turned to dust. Yeah, he's got a gun and
because she died again on him when they brought her back, and Ben stops them from killing her, beating her up essentially, so saves her life.
Funny side note, he's the one who put them on to getting her.
Yeah, it was all set up. So basically a bullet this dude shoots goes into the husband or the brother, I'm not sure who is who, or it doesn't really matter, and the Dr. Clarkson and Ben run out of this bar to get out of the scene they've caused. And because Ben, I'm mixing shit up here, because Ben has saved her life, she then decides to cash out her retirement fund and hand it over to him.
And it's funny because when he's choking that guy in the bar, he's like, "Wait, I recognize your voice. You're the guy who
Mm-hmm.
called." He was about to say, "You're the guy who called us and told us she was here,"
Mm-hmm.
but he chokes him out. Like it's just too funny.
Yeah. So Ben's a scumbag. Takes the money, promises it's quote unquote a loan, and disappears into the night.
Friggin'
That's
Ben.
it. That's that story.
And you know what though? It does make me a little bit excited for Scarlet Spider because now I see the kind of character that he's gonna be. He's gonna be an anti-hero, you know, because he's really a dick, but he's gonna go out there and be a hero. So like I'm excited to see what it's gonna be like.
I don't know how much of a hero he's going to be. I'm not really even sure what the point of his book is at this point.
No, me neither. But
They
I'm
didn't do a good
curious.
job of setting that up, but they've just kind of made him a strange character. So I'm interested in that, I
Yeah.
guess, more than anything else. And then we get a last little tease. It's Spider-Man basically being set up for his future book,
Yep.
issue 25, where the story gets back on track in Amazing Spider-Man, and basically that's where you'll follow it from here on out.
I love his how lit up his eyes are when he breaks through that wall.
Yeah, that's the new suit. It's got like a Batman-esque glow to the eyes. And
like
Spidey is running Kingpin here.
Yep.
Who we haven't seen since a teaser prior to the start of Clone Conspiracy, when Ben brought his wife back and Kingpin was having none of it. He just killed the clone right away.
I like Kingpin
Vanessa. Anyway, Spider-Man's kind of pissed off that Kingpin mentions, I've asked you here to, well, not asked, he basically tricked Spider-Man into coming here to give him this hard drive. He mentions that now we're even. Yeah, because Spider-Man saved his ass after he killed Vanessa and shit hit the fan.
Spider-Man's like, you know, that's not how favors work, right? Like, I got to come to you. You don't call me.
Right. Yeah, but he's like, well, listen, I figured you might be interested in this, and he hands Spider-Man containing a hard drive of some information to the whereabouts of Norman Osborn and where he's been hiding and what he's been up to.
The cool part that happens before that, where he's like, "This is not how favors work," and you know, he's sitting there eating his food, and then Spider-Man just like loses his shit and like picks up the table and like destroys it, and is like,
food,
"You don't come to me, I come to you." Like it was so nuts. He was so pissed.
Spidey was pissed.
He's like a raw nerve after the events of Clone Conspiracy because it was very emotional for him.
Yeah, so him going, Spider-Man ends up, he's like, okay. He's like, I guess you were right. I'll take that favor. We're even, and I'm going to hunt down Goblin.
Yep.
And that's how the issue is. So you know how we do things here, guys. You buy it, you borrow it, or you forget it altogether. We tell you what to do. Trevor, why don't you go first this week? I think I went first last week. Go ahead. What'd you think?
I'm a little tired of Clone Conspiracy. I wanted it to be over so bad. I got an ending that I wanted. I just wanted it in issue 5. I'm not too crazy about the whole Avatar thing and them being in the basement of some building and you know, they completely changed the whole entire story. That's a bummer, but at the same time I still got an ending that I kind of wanted. I enjoyed the Scarlet Spider bits. The art seemed a bit rushed throughout Omega because I know most of these artists and I've seen them do 1,000 times better, especially Stuart Immonen. It was good, but I mean, I've seen a ton of his art and he's better than this, and so is Bagley. But all in all, I still liked it, and I think if you know, if you've read Clone Conspiracy or if you love Spider-Man, I would, you know, I mean, I'd buy it, like, you know, because even if you didn't read Clone Conspiracy, it's a nice hopping on point for what's going to be going on in Amazing and what's going to be going on in Scarlet Spider, and you pretty much get a lot of information that you need. And because he changed the story, you actually get a little more information than if you even read the whole entire 5-issue Clone Conspiracy with 1,000,000 tie-ins anyway. So it's a reluctant buy for me.
I mean, that's a good way. I actually like that answer. I actually had it rated as a borrow, and for me, it's an obvious buy, but I have a Spider-Man bias because I fucking love Spider-Man. He's my favorite, just over Batman, you know, so I will buy every Spider-Man issue. It's always a buy for me, but it's a borrow to everybody else that's not as big a Spider-Man fan as I am.
Yeah.
It's a lot of setup. The event just in general should have been paced a little better, and kind of ended just not so definitively, I guess. They tried to give it a more a definitive ending where like we're going to explain everything, and they really kind of fucked up the entire rule set that they established for the story.
They really did.
Yeah, that wasn't cool. You know, if they just decided that the medicine was kind of a way for Ben Reilly to trick these people under his control, and then Spider-Man's webware solution just solved it all, that would have been fine. You know, they didn't have to get into this whole basement clone tube thing.
No.
The clones weren't really clones after all, you know, so it's just a confusing concept with weird rules. Basically, just for comparison, you know, Jerry is going to be dead while Prowler is totally healed. I can't figure out what the rules are when you tell me that, you know, at the end of the story. Scarlet Spider is still a confusing character to me with confusing motivation going forward for somebody getting his own title. Spider-Man and Gwen moments were strange and sudden to me, although I can understand Spider-Man's reasoning for being a little peeved at Kane and Spider-Gwen at this moment in time when they kept him in the dark about this entire zombie shit going down, really.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the Kingpin ending a lot and the setup for the future. But I'm myself, I'm a little kind of sick of Green Goblin shit because it happened at the end of Superior Spider-Man and into the start of Volume 3. And I just don't feel like he needs to be popping back around again. I would rather, you know, have a focus on a different villain when you set up, you know, Rhino and Lizard here. And I don't feel like waiting for those stories coming in a year. You know what I'm saying? I would rather deal with that coming out of this book than being thrown into somebody I haven't seen since the end of Superior with Osborn.
Because you know it's going to be a long-running story, this Green Goblin story.
Yeah, they're never quick Green Goblin stories. There's no fucking such thing as that.
Well, Osborn's his arch nemesis, right?
Yeah. But he's been, like, he changes his face. He's been, I don't know. It's really, the Spider-Man Green Goblin story has gotten really fucking convoluted over time. Overall, the ending is still relatively satisfying for me, but leaves a lot of questions about, in general, who was alive and who was dead as far as clones that were brought back that are just hanging out there. I'm not sure when they'll be addressed or anything, so that's a little disheartening. And then my final note for it is the fuck you, Marvel, for a $10 issue number 25 coming out of a $5 Clone Conspiracy Omega number 1. That is $15 for 2 issues.
Messed up.
I understand they're, you know, bloated comic books, but that's also what they are. They're bloated comic books that don't need to be that big and upcharged that much. It's the cost of a trade, which is 6 fucking issues, you know?
Oh, it's when you compile all the tie-ins and Clone Conspiracy and this book, I mean, we're almost to $100 here.
Yeah,
I think.
So it's a little weird to charge you $10 for an issue after you charge me $5 for an ending issue.
It's a kick in the dick, is what it is.
Yeah, you know, Marvel.
You spend all this money. They make you spend all this damn money, and then do you get any rewards? No, you get no rewards. You get, we're gonna charge you even more for after this. Ugh.
I know.
I want to choke Marvel.
The thing Marvel doesn't get is DC's doing good with the double shipping books, relatively speaking, because they're $2.99.
Yeah,
they're not. And Marvel's like, oh well, we'll just double ship, but they're charging $4.99 for that first issue, and then $3.99 for the issue after that, and that's hard to beat. That's not enticing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're going about it wrong.
That's my Marvel rant. Anyway, to wrap my thoughts up, it's a borrow. I thought the art again was decent. There were a few down moments overall because it felt rushed, but it was consistent enough feel throughout the book between all the different artists going on to be enjoyable enough. There wasn't any shocking sudden change.
No.
So my overall opinion, if you're not a Spider-Man fan as big as I am, is a borrow for Omega issue number 1. And that is it for us this week, guys. As always, if you're looking for me, you can follow me on Twitter or holler at me on Twitter, whatever you want to do, at bmer3660. Trevitt, where can they find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter at Afronaddict and on Instagram at Trevitz Comics.
And that's it for us, guys. We'll talk to you next week. Look for the poll on Monday for the vote. And party's over. We'll talk to you later.
Peace. What is coming out?